Wait, stop for a second. Before you let your imagination run wild, let's get one thing absolutely clear. Yes, this is happening in Peru right now, but not in the way you might think. Not as a dark, hidden ritual of ongoing sacrifice, but as something far more complex, deeply rooted in history, identity, and cultural memory. And if we misunderstand it, we risk turning heritage into horror for the sake of shock. What you're hearing about is Inti Raymi, an ancient ceremony that dates back hundreds of years to the time of the Inca Empire. Back then, yes, it carried elements that today would feel disturbing. Rituals were performed to honor the sun god Inti, and in those distant centuries, offerings, including animal sacrifices, were part of a belief system built around survival, fear, and reverence for nature. It was a different world, a different understanding of life and death. But today, Inti Raymi is a reenactment, a performance, a powerful cultural expression that draws thousands of people every year, not to witness harm, but to remember history. Still, the emotional weight of its past lingers, and that's where the tension begins. Imagine standing in the historic city of Cusco. The air is thin, the mountains rise like silent witnesses, and the streets are filled with color, vibrant costumes, golden ornaments, the echo of drums. Actors step into the roles of ancient kings, priests, and warriors. The Sapa Inca, the emperor, is carried forward with grandeur, symbolizing a time when this land was ruled by one of the most sophisticated civilizations in the Americas. Everything feels alive, but beneath the beauty, there's a shadow, a memory of what once was. Because history doesn't just disappear, it stays with us. It breathes through traditions, through stories, through reenactments like this one. And for some people watching, especially those who don't fully understand the context, it can feel unsettling. The symbolism, the intensity, the echoes of rituals that once involved real sacrifice. It raises uncomfortable questions. How do we honor the past without glorifying its darker aspects? Where do we draw the line between remembrance and revival? Now let's go deeper, because the real issue here isn't that something horrific is secretly happening today. It's how easily perception can distort reality. In a world driven by viral content and sensational headlines, it doesn't take much for something like Inti Raymi to be misrepresented. A short clip taken out of context can make it look like something brutal is still ongoing, and suddenly a cultural celebration becomes a source of outrage, fear, even condemnation. Think about the impact of that. Families in Peru who have preserved these traditions for generations, suddenly judged. A nation's heritage, reduced to a misunderstanding. Young people growing up there, caught between pride in their culture and the pressure of global criticism. That kind of distortion doesn't just hurt feelings, it affects identity, because culture is deeply personal. It's tied to who you are, where you come from, and how you see the world. When it's misrepresented, it creates a kind of cultural isolation, a feeling that your story is being told by someone else, incorrectly, loudly, and without care. And then there's the mental impact. Imagine being part of a community that's constantly misunderstood. Every time you celebrate your history, someone else sees it as something dangerous or wrong. Over time, that can create shame, doubt, even fear of expressing your own identity. That's how cultural erosion begins, not through force, but through misunderstanding. And it doesn't stop there. On a societal level, these kinds of misconceptions widen the gap between cultures. They create an us versus them mindset, where one group's traditions are seen as superior and another's as primitive or harmful. That kind of thinking is dangerous. It fuels prejudice. It blocks empathy. It prevents real understanding. And the truth is, every culture has a past that includes things we wouldn't accept today. Every civilization has evolved. The question isn't whether those histories exist, it's how we choose to engage with them now. In the case of Inti Raymi, what we're seeing today is not a continuation of harm, but a transformation, a way of preserving identity without repeating the past, a way of saying, this is where we come from, without saying, this is what we still do. That distinction matters, but here's the uncomfortable part, not everyone sees it that way. Some critics argue that even symbolic reenactments can keep old mindsets alive. That by dramatizing ancient rituals, we risk normalizing them, even unintentionally. It's a debate that doesn't have a simple answer, because on one hand, you have cultural preservation, on the other, ethical evolution, and somewhere in between, there's a line we're all trying to define. So, what's the real takeaway here? It's not that something horrifying is secretly happening in Peru today, it's that the way we interpret and react to cultural practices, especially ones we don't fully understand, can have real consequences. We live in a time where information spreads faster than ever, but understanding doesn't always keep up, and that's where responsibility comes in. Before we judge, we need to learn. Before we react, we need context. Because without it, we risk turning traditions into targets, and people into stereotypes. Inti Raymi is not a hidden horror story. It's a reflection of history, complex, emotional, and deeply human. It shows us how far societies can evolve and how they carry their past with them, not as a burden, but as a lesson. So the next time you see something that shocks you, something that feels choosed or uncomfortable, ask yourself this: are you seeing the full picture, or just a fragment designed to make you react?